Huckles Unlimited podcast. I'm your host, Terrence Huckles, and today I have a book review for you guys, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about this book that I've been reading for the past few weeks. For those of you who don't know, I like to read books. I'm finally getting around to talk about this memoir that I've been reading. It took me a while to read it. I'm a slow reader. It's hard for me to really sit down for an hour, 2 hours or so and really just focus in on the book. I'm normally like a guy who likes to read maybe 10, 15 pages a night, 10, 15 pages during the day, whenever. But I highly suggest like you take the time to just read and educate yourself on anything that you find interesting. And for me, it's often memoirs of very successful people. And one person who I'm very interested in and who was very excited to read the memoir about was Andre Iguodala of the Golden State Warriors, formerly of the Golden State Warriors, currently of the Miami Heat. He's an NBA basketball player, professional basketball player. He's had one of the most interesting careers in NBA history. For those of you who don't know, he is a former All-Star, one of the best players in the league with the Philadelphia 76ers back in the late 2000s. He went on, joined the Denver Nuggets and then the Golden State Warriors. And when he joined the Warriors, he was more of a bench player. At the time, the Warriors had two younger guys who played his position in Klay Thompson and Harrison Barnes, and those were the starters. And so he didn't really have the same sort of role he had in his previous destinations in Denver and in Philadelphia. But he became the sixth man, and he embraced that role, and that is why his book is titled The Sixth Man by Andre Iguodala and Carvel Wallace. So while reading this book, I've noticed a few interesting things. A couple actual typos I realized. And I'm not sure if that's like something that happened in every copy of the book, but when I went and read this book, I saw that he had listed the date when they went to go and talk to Kevin Durant. He had listed it as July 30th in 2016. And for those of you who don't know, the NBA free agency period is normally at the beginning of July, even though it's been postponed this season, but it's normally at the beginning of July, which I found really weird because normally you'd think it'd be June 30th is when he went to talk to Kevin Durant and that infamous Hamptons meetup between the Warriors and Kevin Durant. But I thought that was interesting. And also, when he's talking about their first NBA championship, he said that they won their first NBA championship in 2016. And for those of you who don't know, 2016 was the year the Cleveland Cavaliers made that historic comeback. Iguodala actually got his shot blocked by LeBron James in the closing minutes of that game in one of the best defensive plays in NBA history. And that was actually the year that they lost. The year that they won was in 2015. So those were just a couple of typos that I realized, or a couple of just miscalculations. It's easy. It's an easy slip of the hand. It's something that anybody could make a mistake with. And I was blown away to see that. I was impressed with myself that I was able to pick up on that and understand that those were the incorrect dates for when that stuff happened. So that was interesting to watch. All right, I just wanted to get into, in terms of my book review, I'm not really going to just go through and talk about each and every little thing that happened in the book. I want to give my six best quotes from the book. And the first three quotes I have here are sort of tied into each other. They sort of have the same idea behind them. And the first one that I'm going to talk about is when he said, "I was a professional basketball player with a very lucrative contract. What right did I have to feel anything other than complete satisfaction?" So he's referring to the fact that, he's a rich man, and how people often associate being rich with being satisfied in life and being happy. However, if enough testimonials haven't shown that is not always the case. A lot of rich and famous people go through tough times, they have stress, they have anxiety, they have their demons. Just the fact that they make a lot of money does not indicate that they are, completely satisfied with their life. And that goes into my next quote that he made. Is if he said, if we make enough money, have enough success, then we should all be free from all struggles, or more accurately, our struggles are no longer valid. So when you talk about some of the things that maybe stress out someone who is a regular person here in America, a lot of times it's financially related or something that is linked to finances. And I thought it was interesting that Iguodala was able to point out the fact that, people say that his struggles are no longer valid because he makes money, he is successful, and the fact that people say his struggles aren't valid is very interesting, because normally when someone would accumulate, I feel like the more money someone would accumulate, they'd also have some additional issues. Now, granted, some of the issues that are normally related to finances for your average person, in terms of struggling to pay the bills, struggling to do this, do that, put food on the table, like that is no longer a stressor. However, there may be other things such as family and friends asking for loans, more taxes, and stuff like that can really get to a person and can really help contribute to the fact that they could be struggling in life. And we really need to understand that. And so the last quote on this topic that I wanted to pull from the book was, we're not supposed to say that there are fucked up things about the way this game is played. We're supposed to take the money and be quiet. We're supposed to be grateful that we've been given the opportunity to have wealth, to send our kids to private schools. And the exchange is, we aren't supposed to say anything to anyone. We're just supposed to wait quietly. So he's talking, in the he's talking about NBA players. He's talking about professional athletes, and a lot of them who do make a lot of money and they're supposed to take their money and be quiet. The phrase that has been popular in the recent years has been "shut up and dribble." That's one that Laura Ingraham, the Fox News host, said to LeBron James when LeBron James gave his opinion on the president and what the president has done for the black community, or lack thereof, stuff that the president has done for the black community. And the issue at hand is that people just don't say that to any other person in any other occupation. If you're a doctor, if you're a lawyer, you're allowed to have an opinion. But because you're a professional athlete, and because people don't normally associate athletics with, politics and other issues like that, people often will be like, no one cares what you're saying. You shouldn't say anything. You should just, enjoy being rich, enjoy being an athlete, work out and make your money. But that is not the case. Athletes are intelligent people. They understand things in a way that some people just can't really understand and wrap their head around. They understand what it's like to work in a collaborative environment. They need to for their job. They understand what hard work and dedication to a craft can get you. And so if you pick apart an athlete and who they are and what they do, you can sort of identify the different parts, the different things that go into being an athlete, and you can sort of associate or relate them to everyday person, everyday common activities, everyday common struggles, your everyday person. It's just this person is a little bit more athletic and makes a little bit more money than you. It's the same sort of deal. So I thought that was another interesting quote on that same topic. And the thing is, he's very outspoken about this. He really wants to get his word out. He really wants people to understand that he's more than just an athlete. He's a very intelligent person. And I'm sure everyone looks at him and is like, oh, this guy, he went to University of Arizona. He only did 2 years there, and then he went and he left and he played in the NBA for the rest of his life. And now look at him. He's being ungrateful and all that other stuff. And I think it's terrible. We should listen to athletes. We should listen to anybody who has something to say. We should at least listen. And then we judge them based on their words and their actions. And I believe Andre Iguodala, being the person he is, being the intelligent black man that he is, deserves to be heard on many different issues. So That's what I can take away from those quotes. So the rest of these quotes are mostly basketball related, but I thought they were interesting little facts to point out while reading this. And the first one that I want to point out is the one when he was talking about being the sixth man for the Golden State Warriors when they went to 5 straight NBA Finals, when they had the winningest season in NBA history. They won 3 NBA championships. They are arguably the most talented assembly of basketball players ever on a team, on a regular season team, not like an Olympic team or anything, but on a regular team. They're the most, in my opinion, they're the most talented group of players to ever be assembled, with Kevin Durant, Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Andre Iguodala, of course, and others that went along with them during that time period. And so the quote is, "I would have a good game and know that I'd had a good game. I would feel focused and cleaned, showing up in the right spots, making the right plays, and we would win. But still would just feel weird that I only had one shot." So a lot of athletes and a lot of people oftentimes have to go through an adjustment period in their life. They have to go through the adjustment from, one role or one way of life, and they have to go into another due to whatever set of circumstances happens and whatever is going on in their life. So I thought that this was an interesting quote because he had never been accustomed to that. Any player who has played in the NBA growing up in high school and college were normally the best player on their basketball team. So they normally took more than one shot a game growing up. And so to be bred that way growing up and then to finally have to switch the way he plays the game, it's got to be, have some effect on his psyche, has some effect on, the way he approached the game. And I thought that the fact that he was able to, successfully do that and turn that into a few championships and all defensive team performances and being an NBA Finals MVP even is something amazing. It's something that we should really look at and be like, look, this guy accepted his role and he did his best. He worked his butt off to do his best in his role, and that's exactly what he did. And that I'm very impressed. So the fifth quote I have is about Kevin Durant. So the Kevin Durant thing is very interesting for me because Kevin Durant, coming from the Oklahoma City Thunder, second best player in the NBA, going to the best team record-wise in NBA history, sort of made things sort of lopsided. And he wanted to win, and the Warriors gave him the best opportunity to win. So he made that decision, and that's what he did. So, and we all look back on it. He may have cost LeBron James or other players their chance to win another championship, or even for James Harden's sake, his first championship. It's tough. It's a tough situation, and he made the decision, and he has to live with that for the rest of his life. And we all have to live with that for the rest of our lives as basketball fans. It happened. They won a couple championships. It's over. So, in the book, he says, when KD first joined the team, he told him, "Look, we can try our best to take the heat off you, but the most important thing is that you have to not give a fuck. Who cares about what they say about you? They're either going to love you or hate you. Always going to be one or the other." And that is something that I really can resonate with and I can thoroughly understand, is that when people are in the limelight, or when there are people who have a following, or have a following for that matter, they oftentimes have to deal with scrutiny and love and hate, and there's never no middle ground where it's like everyone just feels indifferent about them. It's when it's a controversial person like Kevin Durant, they either love you or they hate you. But what I found interesting is that KD obviously did not take this advice, in the fact that he cared. He cared what people thought about him. He cared what people said. He would reply to people on Instagram. He would reply to people on Twitter. He had a burner account and all this other stuff that happened. He would talk in interviews about it. But the thing is, none of it had any effect on him as a player. Kevin Durant in Oklahoma City was the same player as Kevin Durant in Golden State. And that is a true testament to someone who is mentally tough. People say he's not mentally tough because of the fact that he responded to his haters. But I think he's mentally tough because he was out here responding to his haters very emotionally, sometimes using expletives and other things like that. However, he was still producing on the court. He was still playing his game, being him on the court, doing his thing. And I think that's the true definition of someone who is mentally tough, being able to, go through something, be emotional, and still produce and do what they're paid to do each and every night. And that's just very impressive from Kevin Durant. And so the last quote I'm going to bring from the book is about the Warrior haters. And there were a lot of Warrior haters. People hated the Warriors because they were so good. People hated Draymond Green because of his attitude. People hated Steph Curry because of his attitude. People hated Kevin Durant because of his attitude. Like, they just had a lot of haters. People just didn't like the way they presented themselves at times, and they went from being the underdogs to the supervillains. And that's just the way it is. And those haters would often detract from their successes, saying, "Oh, the Warriors didn't really deserve that. They sort of stack the decks just to make them win. It's not a real championship. They're going to put an asterisk next to each win." And Andre Iguodala, in classic Andre Iguodala fashion, he responded to this in his book by saying, "We didn't win those trophies in a raffle. We won them by being the best team in the NBA. We won them by playing through injuries, showing up at 8 a.m. to look at film and lift, and going out and beating everyone you put in front of us." And that, my friends, is what I like to call a mic drop. I'm not going to drop my microphones because they're too expensive. And I'm broke. Visualize me taking a mic and dropping it. And that was exactly what Andre Iguodala did. He said, "We worked for this. There's a reason why we're the most talented. There's a reason why we're the best team. And, we worked. You can't take away from our hard work. That's what got us here." So I completely agree with that. I respect it completely. I think he has a valid point. And I don't have any problem with it. Like I've said, this is a very talented individual. He's a very intelligent individual. I wish him nothing but the best. I feel like he wrote a great memoir. I highly recommend it for anybody who's interested in Andre Iguodala and who he is and the type of player he is, or just interested in just reading a nice story about, someone who's an athlete, who's very outspoken, and who has a lot of thoughts on, why things are the way they are here in America. I definitely recommend this book. It's called The Sixth Man, Andre Iguodala, Carvel Wallace. You can find it on Amazon, wherever you need. But yeah, definitely give it a read if you're interested and you want to read more quotes like this. If you want to see me do more book reviews, I'm slowly but surely reading a few more books for this summer. So if you'd like to see more of this type of content, where me just taking in a piece of content and giving my thoughts and opinion on it, please let me know. I thank you for watching or listening or whatever you did to listen to this podcast, and I will be back soon. So have a great day, and thank you for listening again.